I am 27 years old and have been working since I was 16 years old. I started full-time professional work right after college and have always maintained employment. In 2020, I fell in love with my now husband when he still lived with his parents. His first job was a summer job in college. We both graduated in 2019. I say that to make it clear that I was not ever in this for the money. I love him with everything in me. We were both laid off in 2020 COVID. I immediately started working at a place with a 1-hour commute each way. He took unemployment. In retrospect, I should have taken it too, LOL. Fast forward to 2022, he was laid off and spent a few months unemployed. I say this to make it clear that this isn't the first time. I've always been the breadwinner in our relationship since the day we met. We got married last September. On our honeymoon, he found out his job had fallen through by no fault of his own and was delayed indefinitely. That sucked for him because I knew how excited he was to step into this new role. But no problem, I thought. Except it was. I expected, like I would imagine most would do, that he'd do something for work in the meantime. Gig work, food delivery, waiting tables, etc. Literally anything to take up the days and help pay the bills. But 1 month turned into 3, and he still hadn't made any effort. I think in his mind he was holding out for his job to come back. But it didn't. Every day I slowly grew to resent him more. I'd come home for lunch. He'd be napping on the couch. I'd come home from work. He'd be on the couch playing video games. It ate away at me. Anytime I tried to bring it up, he would get so defensive and basically act like I'm the bad guy for being mean to him, when I am literally just trying to communicate this. It is not about the money. It's about character. I grew up in a family where I had to earn my share. Based on his recent actions, it seems he is more comfortable taking money from his parents. They were so kind to help with rent, but I don't think he should rely on them in this situation in the first place. We are 27 and married. The biggest ick for me came when I heard him on the phone with his mom say something to the effect of, "I refuse to do some job that I hate." To me, yeah, that's not the real world. In the real world, you work because you have to, not because you love it all the time. You do what you have to do. I don't think I've ever once been able to communicate how I feel to him without him getting so defensive and pushing back on me. "You only are mad because I don't have my job." Bro, I just get grossed out that when I'm leaving for work, you are literally still in bed sleeping. I tried to explain that it's not about his damn job. Never has been. It's a work ethic issue. The lack of effort. Being completely okay with taking rent money from his parents. Entitled isn't the right word, but something about it bothers me so much. I don't mind being the breadwinner. It's 2024, baby. I just want an equal in the relationship, I think. It's not about how much dollars you make, but the effort. "What if we had kids?" I said. "Would you still not try to do anything then?" "Of course I would," he said, but I don't believe him. We got married 6 months ago now, and ever since we got back from the honeymoon, I haven't felt married. We aren't a team. He makes me feel bad for being down and stressed about money, tired all the time. He complains that he just wants things to be easy and normal. I personally feel like he's not worrying enough. It's like I take on that burden too. He's been saying for months, "Stop worrying, it's going to be fine." And at this point, it actually feels like an insult, LOL. Beloved, I am begging you to worry. I never had the newlywed butterflies or the newlywed experience. All of that has been robbed from us. For 6 months, we have barely left the house. Can't afford to go on dates or go out with friends very often when only one of us is working. At this point, it's like I am begging, screaming on my knees for him to just go do something. I feel like I have to kick and scream to get him to do things that I personally expected to not be a second thought. Do the dishes, fix your resume, wake up, etc. Anyways, it's been 6 months now, and we just got confirmation that he will start work again in May, so 8 months of unemployment, and not a single effort made to make a little in the meantime. Heck, even I, as a full-time employee, have picked up a side hustle because of this. I'm just exhausted emotionally because it feels like he'll never let himself understand where I'm coming from. Like I won't ever be able to get through to him. I've been making it clear since October that this is a huge issue for me. I am at the end of my rope. I resent him so deeply, so much, and that makes me so angry and disappointed with myself because I love him more than anything. I just see him differently now, and I don't want to. Anyone who has been in either of our shoes, I would so appreciate opinions on how to move forward. How can I make these feelings go away? How can I work to heal the cracks in the relationship and break down the resentment I've built up? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I completely agree with you. Work isn't supposed to be fun all the time. It's work. I worry his parents enable him. Anytime I've brought it up over the past months, it's turned into an exhausting argument. Because instead of listening to me, he pushes back so hard to defend himself and make me the bad guy for being negative or critical of him or whatever. I would start out calm, try to explain, and he'd interrupt me and say something like, "So you only care about money, huh?" Or something else so totally off base and ridiculous. Either purposefully or subconsciously trying to frame it in a way so he can feel better about himself. I love him so much. I was just genuinely concerned, turned into frustration because I wasn't being heard, turned into resentment. It's so exhausting at this point. I'd given up on him ever taking responsibility, without making me feel like an evil witch for the mortal sin of questioning his choices. Only recently did husband admit to me that he made a mistake for not getting a part-time job after his literal boss got onto him for not working in the interim because husband was complaining to the boss about money. Husband told me he learned a lesson, but I can't help but be a little flabbergasted that all this time I've felt so misunderstood, alone, not heard, and all it took was another man to say something, and suddenly. Comment 2. 53 years old male here, married with kids. I have been on both sides of this situation before. Only I wasn't married or had kids at the time. Your feelings are completely and totally justified. He is being lazy, unmotivated, and even apathetic about his unemployment. Maybe because he's had a comfortable upbringing and having your back to the wall, do or die, is not an experience he's had. Or work for the sake of working was never an idea in his upbringing. Who knows, in my case, I was immature, stubborn, prideful, and only experienced a privileged life. You should not tolerate his behavior. He needs some tough love. However you want to approach it, make it clear that he must never do this again. And he should find a temp job until his big one starts. I would make it a condition of continued marriage. Here's a painful truth about relationships. Love does not conquer all. There is a practical side to marriage and relationships. Having a partner that will support themselves and contribute financially is critical. Being able to respect your partner is also critical. Unfortunately, someone who makes a great boyfriend may not make a great husband. It isn't an automatic process from one status to the other. The skill sets aren't 100% transferable. I would reevaluate your relationship in this light. Now, for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. 3 days ago, I caught him in a lie that shook me to my core. He told me he was going out to apply for jobs, but I found out he was actually at a friend's house, playing video games all day. When I confronted him, he shrugged it off, saying he needed a break from the stress. A break? I was livid. How could he be so selfish? The next day, things took a turn for the worse. I got a call from his mom crying, saying she couldn't afford to help us with rent anymore. Her own job was in jeopardy, and she had her own bills to pay. I felt a mix of panic and betrayal. How could he put his own mother in such a position? But yesterday, the real bomb dropped. I came home early from work to find him packing his bags. He said he couldn't take the pressure anymore, that he felt like a failure, and he needed to leave to figure things out. I watched, heartbroken, as he walked out the door. I felt abandoned, but also a strange sense of relief. Maybe this was for the best. Today, I'm still processing everything. I'm angry, hurt, and confused, but I'm also starting to see things differently. Maybe this separation is a chance for both of us to grow. I've always been the one to push and take charge, but now I have to let go. It's not easy, but I'm trying to forgive him for walking out, even though it feels like the ultimate betrayal. I'm desperate to make things work, but maybe appearing weak is just part of the process. Thanks for reading. My controlling boyfriend isolated me from my friends and lied about his ex. So I dumped him and reconnected with my past to show him two can play at that game. I met my boyfriend through mutual friends a few months ago, and my best friend had set us up. At the time, I wasn't looking for a relationship at all. I had gotten out of a long-term relationship within the past year, but quickly realized he checked all of my boxes for the perfect partner, and I fell hard for him. Backstory on my friends. I moved to a new city 3 years ago while I was dating my ex, and I met some of his friends who were other couples. Some of the wives' girlfriends and I became very close friends, and one girl quickly became my best friend. She and I did almost everything together. I was in her wedding party, we talk almost every day, and she's been there for me through a lot of hard times. Overall, she's a good friend. She and I have had some drama, but overall, mostly petty things. When I see these friends, my ex is never there. The first month we started to date, we hung out with my friends as a couple once, but then didn't see much of them. But I chalked it up to the honeymoon phase. The second month, he seemed agitated and angry when I made plans with them or wanted to bring him to things. He started to tell me that now that I am in a new relationship, it wouldn't be appropriate to maintain my friendships with them. This confused me because he knew who my friends were before we started officially dating. His initial reasoning was that he was uncomfortable being a part of group activities due to the association of my friends with my ex. Then it developed to him not wanting me to be a part of group invites without him either. As time went by, I thought it would improve, so I started to only hang out with my female friends from the group. But he started to have an issue with that. His reasoning became that they are associated with my past life and relationship. Most recently, we were in a space where my friends were also. I was excited to see my friends and my best friend, and we were pretty buddy-buddy. But my boyfriend was upset by it. He had started to express how much he dislikes her and our friendship, and that it is toxic and immature. He doesn't give much more reasoning other than he just dislikes her as a person. My friends don't really know why I haven't been around, and I think they definitely feel hurt, or as if I've randomly dropped them. I'm a very social person who doesn't like to be a bad friend, so it's giving me a lot of anxiety. Currently, if I bring up these friends or mention plans with them, he becomes so angry we can't even talk about it. If I mention making plans with them, it becomes such a bad fight we almost break up every time. I'm at the point where I feel like I need to agree with him that these relationships are inappropriate in order to maintain peace in our relationship. When I've explained to him that I feel depressed and isolated, he tells me it's not his fault that these are my only friends. So pretty much, through many of our arguments and his reactions, my hand is being forced into cutting these people off completely, when in the last few months, I haven't really been around anyway. These comments and arguments have made me feel a lot of shame and anxiety around situations that are not in our direct relationship, yet they are constantly brought up by him. I'm not sure what to do because I feel like he is the type of person I would want to marry, but friendships outside of a relationship have always been important to me. It feels like there will never be a middle ground on this because he has such strong feelings about it, which I've tried to understand but honestly can't understand why it makes him so upset. Is there any clear compromise here? Or does this seem like an unfixable problem, and I should just move on before I get into a deeper relationship with him? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. This is incredibly isolationist behavior from your boyfriend and is a common control tactic of abusers. His demands of you are, frankly, very unreasonable. No partner should be telling you who you can and cannot be friends with. A good partner may show concern within reason, but this is extremely controlling behavior. You also sound like you are scared to go against him in this post. And I know it can be hard, but it's only been a couple of months, and he's already shown that he's a bad communicator and trying to dictate your behavior. Get out when you can and are safe to and ready. Lean on your best friend for support. It's likely she can see his controlling behavior, but isn't sure how to communicate that to you or help you out without you taking the initiative. Comment 2. This is the isolation stage of an hurtful partner. At the very, very, very least, It's borderline controlling and hurtful. You almost break up each time you make plans with these friends because he knows this tactic will make you back down. You may be blinded with love and affection for your boyfriend, but girl, you're in a controlling situation that's actually hurtful. Abuse isn't always hitting, name-calling, or smashing things around you. It's abuse of power. He's dominating on you to intimidate you into doing what he wants. If your friend came to you saying they were in the situation you're in, what would you say? You've been dating only a few months. It's only going to get worse. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. Things have only gotten wilder since then. Last month, my boyfriend and I were at a mutual friend's birthday party. I was chatting with my best friend, laughing and catching up, when out of nowhere, my boyfriend stormed over and caused a scene. He accused me of ignoring him and disrespecting our relationship by being too friendly with my ex's crowd. I tried to calm him down, but he wouldn't have it. He stormed out, leaving me there, humiliated in front of everyone. I thought that was the worst of it, but the next day, my best friend called me, sounding frantic. She confessed that my boyfriend had messaged her after the party, saying some pretty nasty things about me, claiming I was still hung up on my ex and that she was enabling it. He demanded she stop talking to me, or he'd make sure our whole friend group shunned her. I was shocked. My best friend was in tears, apologizing for something that wasn't even her fault. I confronted him about it, and he didn't deny it. He said it was for our own good, that these people were holding me back from truly moving on. I couldn't believe it. I felt like I was being torn in two, my boyfriend on one side, my friends on the other. But it didn't stop there. A week later, I found out he'd been lying to me about working late. Turns out, he'd been meeting up with an ex-girlfriend of his. When I asked him about it, he shrugged it off, saying they were just friends and that I was overreacting. The hypocrisy of it all made my blood boil. He was isolating me from my friends while he was out there doing exactly what he accused me of. I was at my wit's end. I felt walked all over, and I was doing nothing about it. I had to take a stand. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I reached out to my ex, not to rekindle anything, but to get some perspective. He was surprisingly understanding and told me that my happiness was what mattered most, and that I shouldn't let anyone control who I can or cannot be friends with. Armed with a newfound resolve, I went back to my boyfriend and laid it all out. I told him I wouldn't cut off my friends, that I wouldn't stand for his double standards, and that if he couldn't trust me, then maybe we weren't right for each other. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it felt like a weight had been lifted. He didn't take it well. He accused me of choosing my ex over him, of betraying our relationship, but I stood my ground. We broke up that night. It was messy and painful, but deep down, I knew it was the right thing to do. In the aftermath, my friends rallied around me. They had felt the distance, but hadn't wanted to pry. With the truth out, they were supportive and understanding. My best friend and I became closer than ever, and slowly, I started to rebuild the friendships I had almost lost. Just when I thought things were settling down, another shocker dropped. My ex's sister, who I'd always been close with, reached out to me. She told me that my boyfriend had tried to hit on her multiple times in the past, even when he and I were together. She had kept it to herself, not wanting to cause any trouble, but when she saw how things had ended between us, she felt I had a right to know. I was floored. The betrayal stung, but in a way it was the final piece of the puzzle. It explained so much of his behavior, his jealousy, and his attempts to isolate me. It was a harsh reality to face, but it also brought closure. I was free from the lies and the manipulation. I've learned a lot about myself in the past month. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I deserve to be treated with respect, and that true friends will stick by you through the toughest of times. It's been pretty up and down, but I'm coming out the other side a little wiser and a lot more cautious about who I let into my life. Thanks for reading. My boyfriend cooks. Our planned dinner without me and takes his ex to the fair. So I serve him a breakup. He'll never forget. By auctioning off his prized baseball card collection. My boyfriend and I have been dating for a year. The other night, My boyfriend and I picked up takeout. He mentioned that he had never made the type of food we picked up. I said I had never made that food either. Then he says we should try to do that together. We've been trying to cook together more, and I agreed that it would be fun. A few days later, he sent me a picture of the food that he had clearly made from scratch, and some comments about what he'd like to do differently. I was mildly disappointed because this was a thing he said we would do together. I think that disappointment was less about me not getting to do the activity and more about our different treatments of casual plans. This is my first relationship, so I'm still trying to navigate how you handle plans with someone you spend so much time with. When there's an activity I want to do, I'll usually say something like, I want to see the new Dune movie. And he'll either say something to the effect of, let's do it together, or something that indicates he's not super interested. If he indicates that he wants to do the activity with me, I'll save it for him, which just means I won't make plans with other friends to do that activity if it's something that's more of a one-time deal. I have two issues with this right now. The first is that he will tell me that he wants to do something with me, but then not be in the mood when I'm around. We live far enough apart that we sometimes can't see each other every week. I'd feel a little guilty watching a movie we agreed to watch together, but I still want to. The second is that he will often say, we should do X together, and then he will go out and do X with his friends or by himself. Sometimes that doesn't affect me at all because he can do X again. But sometimes he doesn't want to do X or eat at X restaurant or whatever because he was just there. I think we might have a difference in communication styles, and that's the issue. He will tell me everything he wants to do and basically always adds, we should do it together. While I will tell him things that I want to do, but I won't exactly extend the invite on every single thing unless he seems really interested. I'm wondering how we should draw the line of, we have plans to do this thing together, versus we're just sharing about things we want to do in our lives with whoever. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Uncommunicated expectations lead to resentment. My husband was my very first relationship too, and I had to learn that if I didn't like something, was hurt, feeling unsure, concerned, etc., that I had to talk to him. And spending too much time sorting things out in your head can lead to arguing their side in your mind when they're not even there to speak up. I'm not trying to sound harsh, but I think this very much boils down to you and him having different definitions for promising an activity. Now I'm like you, so I don't blame you. Just give him a chance to work on it, and you guys collaborate on a new definition and communication for this. Comment 2. But isn't saying, I want to do X together sometime, implying that I will wait for him. My issue is not really with things I explicitly ask him to do together. That's easy. It's more about the things I casually mention. For example, I really wanted to see a movie, and I mentioned my excitement to him. He tells me that the movie sounds good and he wants to watch it with me, but then I feel obligated to wait for him. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for an update. So, things have been a bit rocky since I last talked about the cooking incident. It's like that opened up a whole can of worms. Just last week, my boyfriend and I had planned to go to this local fair that comes around once a year. We'd been talking about it for weeks, and I was super excited because we both love the rides and the food there. But then, out of nowhere, he tells me he went to the fair with some of his work buddies. I was floored. He said it was a spur-of-the-moment thing, and he didn't think it would be a big deal since we could still go together another day. But the thing is, the fair was only in town for the weekend, and he knew I had to help my sister move on the last day it was here. So our plans were basically trashed. I tried to brush it off, but it really bugged me. It felt like he didn't value our plans or my feelings. I mean, we had been looking forward to it together. And then he just went without me. It's like the cooking thing all over again, but worse. And it's not just about the fair. It's like every time we make plans, I'm the only one who sticks to them. He's always off doing his own thing, and I'm left waiting. It's like he's got this whole other life that I'm not a part of. And it's starting to make me feel pretty lonely. I talked to my friend about it, and she said, maybe he's just more spontaneous than I am, and that I should try to be more flexible. But I don't know. It's not about being spontaneous. It's about respect, right? If we make plans, we should both stick to them, or at least talk about it if something comes up. Anyway, I decided to confront him about it. I told him how I felt, that it seemed like he didn't care about our plans or my feelings. He got defensive and said I was overreacting and that he didn't do anything wrong. He said I should just go to the fair with my friends if it was such a big deal. That hurt. It felt like he was dismissing my feelings completely. And the worst part, I found out later that he didn't just go to the fair with his work friends. He went with his ex-girlfriend. They're still friends, which I knew about, but he never mentioned she would be there. When I asked him about it, he said it wasn't a big deal and that I was being jealous for no reason. That was a punch in the gut. I felt betrayed, not because he went to the fair with her, but because he lied by omission. He knew it would upset me, so he just didn't tell me. It's like he wanted to avoid the argument, but in doing so, he just made everything 1,000 times worse. I had to make a choice. I could either try to get over it and move on, or I could stand my ground and demand respect. I chose the latter. I told him that if he couldn't be honest with me and respect our plans, then maybe we shouldn't be together. He didn't take it well. He accused me of trying to control him and said I was making a big deal out of nothing. We argued for hours, and in the end he said, maybe we should take a break. I agreed even though it felt like my heart was being ripped out. So now we're on a break, and I'm here trying to figure out where it all went wrong. I thought we were happy, but maybe we were just pretending. Maybe we wanted different things all along. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.